Hey, what's going on, guys? I wanted to talk to you guys today about Destiny 2. This isn't like a gush video, it's more of a fears and concerns video, things that I'm actually worried about in the future, and kind of a reason after 11 years I'm really getting burnt out of Destiny and the content structure and stuff like that. And I've bullet pointed for once my points here, so hopefully this makes a little more sense and is a little more condensed into something you can understand and not all over the place. I don't hate Destiny. I still love the game. It's my favorite game of all time, but I'm just losing drive to play it. I mean, the seasons aren't really content replacement at all. I don't think that they're really fun, or I don't really think they're interesting. The grind isn't worth it anymore. My incentive to log in and play the boring activities, or just because of a new weapon or a new piece of armor, just isn't there. And they're really not an incentive anymore either. You know, and I don't like the future that the model is going. I don't like the content structure that they're pushing now, and I don't like the content structure that they're going to be pushing in the future. And I think that it's really going to hurt the legacy of Destiny. And I wanted to get into that a little bit, starting with the seasons. I don't like Act 1. I think that Act 1 was doo-doo. Not in terms of idea. And that's always I guess that also could be a problem that in terms of these seasons is I think they have, for the most part, pretty decent story beats. But the fucking mission structure on them is terrible. Act 1 has you going around and doing mindless bullshit, and I get the normal thing of maybe playing the seasonal activity and stuff like that, why I don't love it, but I get why they want you to interact with the seasonal content, and I get that. But specifically with Act 1 post Final Shape, it was just go here, do thing, go here, do thing, maybe play the mission, go into the mission to specifically collect little giblets, and then go back and place these structures all over the place, like these little nano things, and it was boring. It was not fun, and I didn't even beat Act 2 until way after the dungeon came out, because I just didn't care. I was like, I don't really care. And the exotic mission that came out during Act 1 was I didn't mind it, but I'm not a fan of the battlegrounds. I think that they're not a great replacement for strikes and stuff like that. And while they have maybe some interesting zones for the first time, they're just not fun. I don't even know what to say about Act 2. There is going to be more story, so I'm really, I guess I'm kind of interested to where it's going, because the idea of Fickrell taking over the Fallen and coming in and doing all this badass shit, it's fucking cool, right? But the execution was no mission. We got nothing. It is a Onslaught edition, which is 3 reskin maps. Actually, I think one of them is a quote-unquote reskin, but it's really just a re-release of a Gambit Prime map, I think, with maybe some extra fucking little flinglies shown in there. There's a PvP map that was, I don't know, scrapped or not used anymore. And then another remastered map. I forget the third one, but they're just not they're not fun. I mean, they're kind of cool looking, but Onslaught isn't fun, and I don't think that it is worth it to play Onslaught most of the time. Some people like it, and some people like that wave defense thing, and I really did like it, but we just came off of an Onslaught release. Onslaught literally came out right before Final Shape, so we had 3 months or more to really grind out Onslaught. So now that it's out, I don't want to go back to it. I want something new. I need something refreshing. But then the problem is again, the seasonal content. They just don't. The activities are repetitive, and sometimes they're really increasing the loot gained from it, which is good because some of them are an hour long or whatever. But it is not fun to do over and over and over again. After your 5th time, you're like, man, I just don't want to fucking do this anymore. Dungeons are good though. I do love the new dungeon. I think the dungeon is great. I think that the mechanics for it are super fun. I love the redesign of operator, scanner, and suppressor. I think that while suppressor is pretty much the same, using it to clear out boss ads is annoying sometimes, but it's super fun concept and super fun in execution. I do like being suppressor. Scanner is the same, but the operator changes of just like really having to search for things. And even Scanner, listening to audio cues now, I lied to you. Scanner is not the same. You have different audio cues and stuff like that, and they actually have visual cues on the mini-map now for Scanner, which is great. So I think that's cool. I like using the nukes. I like going around. I think the boss design is super, super fun. But then again, it comes to a crucial issue that Destiny runs into, where every piece of content they make breaks the game. I mean, the dungeon has so many issues. You can't open the secret chest. You have to do it either all at once or once per run per person. It's super buggy. The puzzles can be kind of weird and buggy. I've had a couple of them kind of fuck up on me and mess up. And I don't love what they're doing with the quest. I understand that there's different steps to the quest which require different things to activate, but the fact that maybe one person can't do the quest because the host is farther in the quest and that kind of stuff, it gets very frustrating. And I wish there was a way to kind of work with that, or a way to incorporate it all, or maybe have a button to switch what puzzles in the room so you can switch between the puzzles. Something that doesn't make it so shit we can't play with our friend who's maybe done all of the quest until we do all the quest, or we're hosting. But then even sometimes when you're hosting, it takes over their quest progress. I've had my friends' quest progress take over sometimes with me, my other friend who are behind on the quest I've been trying to do. So it is just, it doesn't work. And the tether was broken day one, which tether's been in the game since King's Fall. So like, or the Taken King, my bad. So like, why remove it? I don't understand it. Well, not remove it, but why is it breaking things? It doesn't make sense to me. But the content in the dungeon is fun. I mean, I can't say that for the whole game. At this point in the game, the mission structure is very repeated, especially in the seasonal content. It's all feels the same. The release structure feels the same. The way I interact with the content feels the same. They are just drip feeding you, or just straight up giving you no content at this point, which doesn't give you drive to want to come back to the game. And it is not fun. Like I said, this season, I don't care. The weapons are cool, and the weapon rolls are like, yeah, they could be useful, but I don't want to play Onslaught. I don't want to grind stupid shit that I've grinded 100 times at this point for weapons that aren't going to do anything for me. And I feel like the game is lacking that good content. D1 isn't perfect, and even going back, there's still some issues. But for new players, it's a simple structure. You play through the campaign, all the campaign and the DLC structure, all that kind of stuff, and then you can get to the end game, and then you can grind, and then you've got other things that you can do. And then once you get done with the end game content, there's even harder end game content that gives you more rewards. So it's just more condensed. But when you log into Destiny 2, you have no idea what you're doing. And then it feels like they're like, okay, play the final shape and then go straight to the seasonal content, which, okay, so you play something really good, and then they're directly funneling you right into the shit, the stuff that you don't want to play. And you go back and you play the little seasons, but for people who are new, they have zero incentive to care about the story or really want to pay attention, because it's cut. It doesn't make sense. You come in at Forsaken, but it's only part of Forsaken's story, and then you can go straight into the other DLCs, but they're talking about things that are well established or have been well established even through Destiny 2, and the content's gone. So there's no way for you to understand what's going on. They're just streamlining you straight to the grind, which for some people that's what they want in this game. But when you do that and your game has no content to grind that is very enjoyable, you're just rushing people to the burnout point. And yeah, you're new. You play the raids, you have a lot of fun. You play the dungeons, you have a lot of fun. But then all that's left is the content that it isn't. And the content that's not really getting updated that much, or if it is, it's just the same shit over and over and over again. And when they release weapons, they just don't feel good anymore. I mean, they do. That's not the right word I want to use. They do feel good, but they don't drive me to want to get them. They're mostly just slot fills at this point. They're releasing a couple of new archetypes, like with the rocket pistol and with the new dual shotgun that just came out with Season of the Lost, or Festival of the Lost, but I don't think that they're incentive for me. I have indebted kindness and I have a call. So I have 2 slots filled with that sidearm, and they work. In every single piece of content that I use, they work. And when I'm doing day ones, I was doing day 1 of the dungeon, and my friends were trying to use things that maybe they felt like were new and they may fit a slot and something like that. But I was just using Old Faithful, and Old Faithful was fucking destroying. So I don't care to go grind boring content for a weapon that's a stasis version of what my solar weapon can do. Okay, I can blow that guy up and make a crystal. Or yeah, that combos well with something, but I have 3 other guns with that exact same perk roll that I can use to do that same combo. So just because this one's a hand cannon, I don't care. And the slot filling doesn't drive incentive to some people. I guess it does. You can make the YouTube video that's like this insane broken weapons in the game, but when you're playing the game, blowing up the boss with a double shotgun or a fucking rocket launcher for the most part feels the same. When you change when you change your builds up and stuff like that and do the melees and that kind of stuff, yeah, that part feels different, but I don't really feel like the weapon that I'm using feels different anymore. I'm using a primary that has like incandescent or something like that on it to just blow things up in a horde, or I'm using a stasis weapon to get more explosions, or build my transcendence up so I can just blow up a horde. And while that power fantasy is cool sometimes, and they're giving you more things to blow up, which also feels cool, when everything dies in an instant, and when you just are getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, but there's no reset, there's no point to getting stronger anymore, because it's just like, okay, here's something that's there, go blow it up with the stuff that you already have. It just it burns you out. I lose so much drive to play that game. But that's not to say that there isn't unique weapons in this game anymore. A lot of the dungeon weapons are super cool. They're rolling with new perks, and the aerial denial rocket launcher or grenade launcher, my bad, that spawns a bunch of orbs with attrition orbs and stuff like that. That's cool. That's actually, in my opinion, build worthy stuff, because it does unique things that other weapons don't necessarily do. While the heavy GL is just a new perk roll kind of something we've already got, it'll still be kind of fun to maybe switch up with the meta and stuff like that, but it's not the biggest thing in the entire world. Well, to some people it is the biggest thing in the entire world. But you have all of these weapons that they're just copying all these perks and redoing all these things and maybe reskinning and all this kind of shit, but then they don't release armor, like, ever. They do. Okay, I'm getting a little dramatic here. Give me a second. They do release armor, but it's a hit or miss whether it's going to be good or not. The new dungeon armor looks great. I think Warlord's Ruin dungeon armor, it's aight. I don't know. I guess I could wear a cool fucking cape and be got my ice hooks on my hunter, right? But it's not. I'm not in love with it. I don't use it ever. A lot of the raid armor I really like. I think that if a lot of the other armor could hit that peak, it would be nice. And you don't have to make it that good. But Eververse exists, and that is also a net negative for the game. It's not a free-to-play game. It costs $160. Actually, I can check Steam right now, but I'm 99% sure it costs about $160 to play this game at this point. And to buy all the DLC, and then you have to buy the season, and then you have to buy maybe the dungeon pass key, and then you have to buy the holiday season pass booklet, and then you have to, if you want a fucking sick armor set or a crossover armor set, then you have to go to Eververse and you have to spend $10 on a fucking armor set for one of your characters, not for all your characters. You don't get, if you go buy the bundle, of one armor piece, you don't get it for all 3 characters. You get it for the Warlock. You get the Warlock bundle. Okay, cool. So you spent $10 to get that armor on your Warlock, and you gotta go spend, $20 more on the other 2 characters. It is insane. And all of the armor in Eververse is super cool. That's the problem. They're funneling all of their attention and detail into the money, which, yeah, kinda. That's what you'd want to do if you're trying to really sell something, but it is draining content from the game. I don't feel like, I mean, Trials really hasn't gotten that much updates for armor. It's very rare that Trials gets an armor reset. They're kind of now releasing an armor set for Crucible and stuff like that, but it would be nice to have more armor sets. They say they can't do it. They can. You just need to stop putting that in Eververse. Just make cool content for the seasons. Or, I don't know, just give it a refresh. Just finally give it a solid refresh in all of the vendors and all the categories. Redesign the armors, because it feels like they just use basics of the armor, like the super duper basic armor sets and stuff like that, and then add a little bit of detail or add a bit of little flair, maybe change the color and add a little Crucible detail, slap that shit on top. But that's not fun. That's not interesting to me. It's just boring. It's like, okay, cool, that armor piece, but from this set, but maybe has a new decal or maybe has a crack in it or something. That's not drive. That's not fun, and that's not cool. I don't like that. I don't like looking at it. I don't like messing with it. And I think that in terms of what you want to log into for Destiny, there isn't much left. You can go get the stuff and it'll be there, but then it's either immediately going to be replaced the next season, or it's just going to be a copy of something that you're already using. And then you're like, what the fuck? Same thing with the armor. You log in and you're like, oh, the new season armor dropped. And yeah, the season armor might look cool, but you get it in 5 seconds if you play the season for anything. So that's done. And then you're like, okay, cool, let me go look at the other armor sets, and then there's nothing. Or if there is something quote-unquote new, it's just a reskin of an old set or a very basic-looking set, which I can understand wanting to release those, but to say, oh, wow, this is the set, and then I have to deal with this set for 3 years or 2 years or however long they want to wait for their refreshes now, it's just, why? Why am I having to deal with this anymore? For a game that is a looter shooter and about getting new gear, the gear grind is poopy. And I know they're reworking the armor perks, and I think that might be, fun for about a week. I'm going to get new armor, and then I'll be done. Because really all you have to do is grind dungeons and stuff like that. I'm going to go get new armor, and that'll be really cool to maybe mess with some of the new perks, but it's going to take another 3 years for them to release anything that's actually worth a damn in terms of the new perk selections and stuff like that, I feel. Same thing with the mods. I mean, they're just finally now releasing some extra mods and like adept mods and stuff like that. And it's taking a while to cook from what the systems that they used to have. And it just feels like, it just feels boring. I don't love the streamlining. And that worries me a lot for the future, especially with the new seasonal model that is coming out, and the new DLC model. I don't love the current DLC model we have. Final Shape was $100. It was really expensive. And we got a really good story, don't get me wrong, and a really good piece of raid content. And with that $100 package, you also get the dungeon. So there is, 3 pieces of genuinely good content, or 4 pieces, sorry, including the story, of genuinely good content coming out. And then you have to wait for the seasons, which are barely anything. You can finish in a week, and then you're burnt out. You get a strike with the DLC, and that doesn't drive you to want to play this new strike playlist or really grind for anything. And when they're switching to now a model where they're cutting that DLC to 2 a year, that worries me, because with 1 DLC, we've already got cut content from what we used to get. And now if they're going to be splitting that to twice a year, they're going to have to cut that content further down, because they're going to be making less. Well, they're going to be making more, technically, in the year. That is terrifying as a person who sees the direction that the game has already been going in, and now they're going to be splitting that up to 2 different releases a year. I'm afraid that the new DLC model is just going to be the new season model. And that is technically what it is, but I mean, like, genuinely, they're going to charge me, $40 for a DLC, because they're going to be like, well, it's the half DLC, so there'll be, this one will be 40 and the next one will be 40, or this one will be 50 and the next one will be 50, some shit like that. And then I'm just stuck with 2 seasons, two maybe larger seasons, more maybe, you know, instead of a helm, I get to go to a planet surface for like 20 minutes. But I don't feel like the content or the story is gonna be up to par with an actual expansion release. So you're cut with lower quality content throughout the year, and then you have the lower quality seasons throughout the year, because I don't think the seasons have ever improved, and I don't really think they ever will with the rate that they're going at. And then they're going to have to put time into 2 raids a year, which they don't really do now other than reprised raids. So unless it's going to be the same model, but just one DLC gets a new raid and one DLC gets a reprised raid, I could get that. But if they're trying to make 2 new raids for the DLC, well, that could be really exciting if they put a lot of time and effort into it. I don't trust them fully, especially after Lightfall's raid. I feel like the raid layer mentality is still kind of there. And I'm afraid that this 2 DLC model is going to take us back to having almost raid layers, where the raids are boring and there's maybe one boss and a couple of puzzles, if that, to really want to go do. And that's not exciting. That doesn't make me want to play the game anymore. And that makes me fearful for the future. Well, I love the story. If the content is just continuing to get worse, I don't think I can keep playing the game at all. It's going to burn me out completely. And maybe I take 2 years off and then I come back and there's a bunch of shit to play, but I'll burn myself out within a month, because it's gonna feel samey after a while. And I don't know. I just think with this, I think what I'm getting at is, you know, Destiny needs a heavy attitude adjustment. I feel like they're trying to adjust to all players instead of adjusting to an audience that really could drive for Destiny. And there's a lot of hardcore players of this game that want the game to be harder and harder and harder. But there's also a lot of people who, I'm sorry if you've made it far into this video and you're hearing this, but kind of suck at the game, which is hard to do because it's a really easy game. And they're complaining that the game's too hard, so then they want the game to be easier. And that just kills it for anybody who wants hardcore drive for the game, because they're trying to appease more to the casual audience, I feel. And that, for the hardcore players, they can burn through that content and they're done. And, you know, yeah, you can take a break, go play a different game, but it's a game that's advertising itself as not a full MMO, but almost an MMO-like looter shooter. And it really is a titan of the industry. There is no game that kills it as hard as Destiny does. Borderlands exists, but they release a game, you play it for a little while, you drop it for 2 years or whatever till the next one comes out. Destiny is a game that you consistently play, you consistently come back to. It's like a World of Warcraft. It is one of those games that's constantly updated, constantly getting hype, constantly getting viewership, ebbs and flows when it comes to things. But I don't want it to die. I don't want it to just fizzle out into nothing, because they continue to make bad decisions and continue to release content that was subpar, or the content that just kind of kills the game. And I really do believe that with enough time they're going in that direction, and that's super scary to me as someone who loves the fucking game. I want Destiny to succeed. I want Destiny to continue to be the game that it is, not the game. Okay, wait. I don't want it to continue to be the exact thing that it is, but I want it to continue to be what it is in terms of the titan of an industry. It's a lightning in a bottle game that just came out of nowhere from a studio that made Halo, and they were like, hey, we're going to try this. And they made it, and yeah, it fucking fell flat on its face when it first came out, but it built an audience, and over the years, it's been building and building and building and building and building, and I don't want them to see them lose it over bad decision making, over trying to appeal to an audience that maybe isn't one that you should appeal for this type of game, and in general, bad management. I know, I'm sure a lot of it is upper head stuff, and there's a lot of really, really hardworking and really, really, really talented developers at Bungie, but in terms of a player base, you're gonna lose them, I think, and I think that is a bad thing for Destiny, because if Destiny could stay for 15, 20 years, like, you know, a World of Warcraft, like a StarCraft, something like that, that'd be amazing. But I'm afraid that Destiny is going to be something that I reminisce about in the next 5 years instead of actually continue playing. So that's about it. It's my little rant here. I know it was kind of all over the place, I guess. I mean, I tried to condense it, tried to keep it in line, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, like I said with my Call of Duty Zombies video, please talk to me in the comments section. I would love to have a conversation with you guys about Destiny. Are you a hardcore player? Are you a casual player? What do you think about it? Are you excited for the future? Are you worried about the future? Anything like that, please go ahead and leave a comment and make sure you guys subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.